Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar. Here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Supreme Court stays the controversial 100-meter height definition for Aravalli Hills, proposes a fresh committee to assess recommendations of all earlier panels on the definition, says the 100-meter definition creates a structural paradox where protected territory is significantly narrowed. Nifty drops below 26,000 as the last trading week of 2025 starts on a tepid note. Rupee weakens against the dollar, moving closer to the 90 mark. Gold and silver prices cool from record levels thanks to profit booking. At least one person killed in Russian strikes on eastern Ukraine. This after summit between US President Trump and Ukraine Zelensky fails to yield a breakthrough. Trump says a peace deal is a lot closer, but thorny issues still remain. Government's Defence Acquisition Council approves proposals to acquire weapons worth 79,000 crore rupees. The proposal includes overhauling of tanks, missiles and airborne warning and control systems, among others. The bankruptcy code remains the best recovery tool for banks. RBI report pegs IBC recovery rate in FY25 at over 36%. The amount involved in bank frauds rises sharply by 30% in the first 6 months of FY26. Even as the volume of frauds drop by over 70%. Financial Services Secretary expects insurance premiums to decline after Parliament passes a bill allowing 100% FDI in the sector, says insurance regulator will release draft rules on agent commissions, adds that it is not appropriate time for composite license for or open architecture. That's an exclusive. Heads of state from 15 countries and participants from over 100 nations likely to attend the AI summit in New Delhi in February. Top AI executives and bigwigs like NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Bill Gates, Mukesh Ambani and Nandan Nilekani likely to be in attendance. Supreme Court stays Delhi High Court order suspending the life sentence of expelled BJP leader and Unnav rape convict Kuldeep Sengar. Apex Court orders legal aid for the survivor. Sengar is also accused of killing rape survivor's father. Protests erupt in Tripura and parts of northeast over the murder of 24-year-old student Angel Chakma in Dehradun. Himachal Chief Minister promises strict action even as the prime accused remains untraceable. Government's top auditor highlights that close to 2 decades since its inception, the authority responsible for monetizing railway land has failed to ensure completion of even one commercial project, flags inordinate delays, poor execution, and massive revenue losses. Well, we'll come to all of that and a lot more in just a bit. But first up, let's take a look at the day's trading action. Now, the street remained weak ahead of the December series expiry. Nifty and Sensex fell nearly 1% each. The Nifty, meanwhile, ended below the 26,000 mark. Broader markets fell in line with the blue chips, but the banks did a little better. Meanwhile, in the currency market, the rupee ended at 89.97 against the US dollar, inching closer to that 90 rupees a dollar mark. And in the commodities space, oil prices moved higher as investors assessed the outcome of talks between US President Donald Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart Zelensky on a potential deal to end this war with Russia, along with other ongoing issues like the Middle Eastern conflicts that could disrupt supply. And from energy to metals, gold and silver prices cooled off from record levels thanks to profit booking. Despite today's correction, however, bullion is up by over 70% this year, while silver prices have climbed by over 180%. Meanwhile, copper is also on track for its largest annual price rise in more than a decade. This on the back of looming US tariffs, supply disruptions, and fears of a global shortage. Well, speaking of macros, India's factory output jumped to 6.7% in November, hitting a 2-year high. This increase was led by a strong rebound in manufacturing growth and mining. Electricity output showed signs of recovery despite contracting 1.5% during the month. Now, Russia has killed at least one person in the Kyiv-controlled parts of war-torn Donetsk region. This comes as US President Donald Trump expressed optimism that a peace deal was a lot closer after meeting President Zelensky in Florida. Speaking at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Trump said that one of the contentious issues that remains includes how much territory Ukraine will hand over to Russia. Meanwhile, Zelensky said that the two leaders were 90% of the way towards reaching a deal.
We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer.
You agreed on the so-called free trade zone on Donbass. How to separate the sides, how to make the separation line, who will be responsible.
The word agreed is too strong. I would say not agreed, but we're getting closer to an agreement on that, and that's a big issue, certainly.
Now, tensions have sparked again between China and Taiwan. Beijing has launched 5 military drills around the island country. China has termed the military drills as a part of Justice Mission 2025. These drills have come just days after U.S. announced sale of one of its largest weapons packages worth $11 billion to Taiwan. Officials from Taiwan have condemned the exercise and said that the country has deployed forces in the region to monitor this situation closely. And in more international news, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is scheduled to meet U.S. President Trump at the Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida today. This comes amidst fears over Israeli forces launching fresh attacks over Gaza. This is Israeli Prime Minister's 5th visit to the U.S. this year. Meanwhile, reports have suggested that Israeli forces have killed over 700 relatives of Palestinian journalists since the start of the war in 2023. Back home, the Defence Acquisition Council has approved proposals worth 79,000 crore rupees. The government has greenlit procurement of loiter munition systems, low-level lightweight radars and long-range guided rocket ammunition for the Army. For the Navy, the Defence Ministry has approved procurement of high-frequency software-defined radios and bollard pull tugs. And for the Air Force, the government has approved procurement of automatic takeoff landing recording system and long-range guidance kits. Sources have indicated that the government has also approved the proposals for the overhaul of T-90 tanks and midlife overhaul of Mi-17 helicopters. The proposal to acquire MR-SAM missiles for the Indian Navy and Air Force are also approved. Now, the bankruptcy code remains the best recovery tool for banks according to the RBI's Banking Trends report, which pegs the IBC recovery rate in FY25 at over 36%. The report also found that the amount involved in bank frauds has risen sharply by as much as 30% in the first 6 months of FY26, even as the volume of frauds has dropped by over 70%. Ritu Singh now joins us with more details. Ritu, take us through the key highlights of this report.
Well, a bunch of interesting data from RBI's latest report on banking trends. Let's start with the bad loan recovery, where among all recovery channels, the insolvency and bankruptcy code continues to stand out as the most effective tool. Even though the number of IBC cases referred fell sharply from 1,004 to 732 in FY25, the recovery rate improved significantly to 36.6%. More importantly, IBC now accounts for more than half of the total amount recovered, which is 52.4%, up from 49.5% last year. So fewer cases but better quality resolution under IBC, even if far from ideal at a recovery rate of less than 40%. The realizable value under IBC stood at 170% of liquidation value, which is also an improvement over the previous year. The SARFACI route was the second most effective NPA recovery channel with a rate of 31.5%. But in contrast, Lok Adalats and DRTs continue to deliver very, very low recovery rates. Now, turning to frauds, the picture is more nuanced there. The RBI data shows that in FY25, based on the date of reporting, the number of fraud cases declined to about 23,879 from 36,052 in the previous year. But the amount involved increased very sharply to 34,771 crores from about 11,261 crores. Now, this increase was largely driven by the re-examination and fresh reporting of 122 fraud cases of about 18,336 crore rupees because of a Supreme Court's March 2023 order. Now, by date of occurrence of fraud in FY